Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Larson. Yeah, we've seen this one before, but this time it didn't get ugly. It actually was clean for the most part. But many would argue the air was not clean, as we saw. This will be a heavy topic of discussion for the rest of the week, I'm sure. But aero blocking, the dirty air to the second place car. We talked about this a lot with the Gen 6 there at the end when they did the 550 package. Made it extremely difficult to pass, but we've seen it more as of recently. Even at some of the intermediate tracks, the next gen car has been great at these intermediate tracks, but we saw it at Vegas a little bit, but we saw it here today. So let's talk about this race here today. Denny Hamlin picked up his third win of 2024, his second ever career win at Dover, led 135 laps, I believe, on the day, and just really controlled the second half of this race, or the third of this race. We saw Martin Truex Jr. win stage 1. He seemed to have the best car early on. Then we saw Kyle Larson win stage 2. And we saw a different few guys up front. As I said, Larson, Truex, Hamlin. We also saw Tyler Reddick up front for a bit, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, pole sitter Kyle Busch. So we did see a few different guys up front. We saw some good battles for the lead. We saw passes for the lead. It was very possible to pass today. The racetrack was very wide. You could pass, you could go almost anywhere you wanted. You couldn't run right on the fence, but you could get pretty darn close. So the racetrack itself was really wide. It rubbered in really well. We talked about, or I guess everyone was talking about that after qualifying yesterday in practice, because it was 20 degrees cooler in the air. I don't know what the on-track temperature, the difference is, but it was a big difference in terms of the tire wear and whatnot, in terms of rubber being laid down. And so we saw a very wide racetrack. Point being, passing was possible, but a lot of people going to focus on this last stint between Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson was a little bit better than Hamlin there that last run, and he was closing in on Denny Hamlin, closing in. He was a second and a half back. I think that's the most he was on that last green flag run. And as I said, he just kept on kind of slowly closing in. 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, so on and so on. But then when he got within a half second, it didn't stall out, but he'd get to that half second mark and he'd either get within 0.2 of a second or he'd fall back to 0.7 of a second back. It was kind of this accordion in a sense of, he gets really close and then he's falling back. He's close, falls back. And then the last 10 laps were really just Denny Hamlin playing really good defense, because Larson was doing a great job at using multiple lines, whether he'd run the super high top, run right on the bottom, run the middle, whatever he wanted to do, he could go there. But the last 10 laps, Denny Hamlin kind of controlled where Larson would go. He knew that Larson was really good on the top, so he'd take the top, aero block Larson from really being able to make a gain on him, or, if Larson went to the bottom, then Hamlin would just be faster on exit and he'd be able to pull away. So it was tough for Larson to actually make a pass, but he did seem a little bit better. And as I said, a lot of people are going to focus on this at the end. And yeah, it's definitely frustrating. The drivers were frustrated at the end, at least Kyle Busch was in his post-race interview talking about the aero blocking. And yeah, I understand it for sure. It's frustrating. I don't think it's as frustrating as it used to be. You used to not be able to get that close, I feel like. But ultimately, it's still frustrating. All this talk about aero blocking, all this talk about dirty air. But I still enjoyed today's race. I still thought the finish was exciting, edge of your seat kind of stuff. I wish they didn't do the whole graphic of, these two have history. Let's show it 3/4 of the screen. Let's show it with 5 laps to go. I'm like, guys, there's a race going on here. It's a close battle for the win. Can we just not show that? I was a little frustrated with that. This is the first time I've watched a race on TV in 3 weeks, so I've been spoiled at track, not seeing commercials, not seeing graphics and all that. But just some of the direction today was frustrating. Like, we would not see the cars in the restart zone sometimes. Like, they would have already launched. Like, the launch is very important on a restart, and we would not have seen it because Fox was showing fans in the stands, or they're showing a pit crew guy who's already pitted the car, and I'm like, can we see the restart zone? I want to see the full restart, but no, that's asking a lot. Anyways, before I go further, Denny Hamlin, as I said, he got himself his third win of the season. Kyle Larson, he's had a lot of race-winning cars this year, but he only has that one win. Came really close. Once again, it was a good battle. It was fun, but Denny Hamlin played great defense. Looking at your finishing results here, I've said it so many times already. Denny Hamlin picks up his third win of the season, picks up some more playoff points, his second win at the Monster Mile. Great race from him. He was top 5 early in this race, maybe 6th or 7th, but he was able to slowly make his way up. His pit crew put together some fantastic pit stops. That pit crew has been on it all season long, as we have seen. The only complaint I have about Denny Hamlin today is, why did they change the Mavis paint scheme? Like, it's a downgrade, unless it's like a throwback that I just am not aware of. I like the old Mavis scheme better, but other than that, great day by Denny Hamlin. He did everything right today. Second place, Kyle Larson got himself his 6th stage win of the season, so he leads the league in that. Great points day for him. I'm sure he'll still leave this thing as the NASCAR Cup Series points leader, which is big for the playoffs and whatnot, but you want to get that win. You want to get those bonus points. You want to get a trophy, and Larson ultimately just fell short, finished second, but he's got a great shot next week at Kansas, another track that he's been great at. Third place, Martin Truex Jr., one of his many home races. I think this is the main home race, so it's close enough to New Jersey. But once again, looked like he was going to be the car to beat early in this race. Fell off a little bit in the middle and kind of last into this race, but was able to rally back, was able to get his positions back and finish third. Once again, great race by him, great day for him, led a lot of laps today. Won himself a stage, so got himself a playoff point with that. Still has not won in 2024, but that win's going to happen at some point. They're too good to not win. So a great day for Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Busch started on pole, led the opening 33, 34 laps of this race before being passed by Ryan Blaney. And he ran top 5, top 10 the entire day. Believe it or not, this is only Kyle Busch's second top 5 of the year. This was a much-needed run. They were outside of the playoffs entering today. I know it's really early in the season still, but it's still a point that needs to be talked about. It has been 10 races, but this was probably their best day, their best, they got stage points in both stages. They led laps. They were on pole, and they end up with a 4th place finish. This was probably, in my opinion, their best race all season. They got to keep it up. They got to show up with speed elsewhere. They've had too many bad races this year, whether it's a pit road incident, whether it's a pit road mishap, whether it's an on-track incident, whatever it may be, or they're just straight up slow. They've got to get more of these runs together. I know you're not going to run top 5 every single week, but you've got to get more of them. So Kyle Busch, that was just a much-needed run. I know he was a little bit frustrated at the end there with the aero blocking and whatnot, but great day for Kyle Busch regardless. 5th place, Chase Elliott. That's 3, 4 top 5s in the last 5 or 6 races. So he continues his hot streak. 6th place, Noah Gragson. What a great run for him. He back-to-back top 10s. Remember last week, 3rd at Talladega. He's got a 6th here at Dover. Just a great race from him. He qualified extremely well. He ran well the entire day, and he ends up finishing 6th. Was battling Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott for a top 5 spot late in this race. 7th place, Ryan Blaney led some laps early, ran top 10 the entire race. 8th place, Alex Bowman was top 5 in the middle portion of this race. It looked like he was going to take the lead from teammate Kyle Larson. Ultimately did not, but he ran top 10 when he wasn't in the top 5. Great race for Bowman. He continues to be consistent in terms of just running top 10. He is a top 10 kind of guy. He just consistently is getting these top 10s, and it's why he runs so good in the points. But one of his better runs as a whole in the race, because he was able to get stage points in both stages, be up there contending for the lead at times. So great to see the 48 with speed. 9th place, Daniel Hemrick had a very favorable caution for him. The last green flag pit stop cycle, everyone had pitted except for Daniel Hemrick and I don't even know who else, maybe 1 or 2 other cars. Well, they were running not great, so they decided to take a gamble, stay out, bet on a caution, and the caution came. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming out of the pits just wrecked himself. Don't know how else to say it. And Hemrick was the leader. All but 7 or 8 cars were pinned a lap down, and so Hemrick was able to get fresh tires, come back out, restart 5th or 6th, And, some of those better cars got by him, but still, Daniel Hemrick with a top 10, only his second top 10 of the year. He's had a good couple of weeks. I think that first top 10 might have been last week at Talladega. He led some laps last week at Talladega. I know that for a fact. And then another top 10 here at Dover. Good couple of weeks for Daniel Hemrick in college racing. 10th place, Ty Gibbs, good run for him. 11th, Tyler Reddick, had top 5 speed early in this race, but kind of fell off as the race went on. 12th place, Raj Chastain. 13th, AJ Allmendinger, top 15 most of the day, even in the top 10 for a portion. 14th, Josh Berry. 15th, Austin Cindric. 16th, Joey Logano, outside of Blaney. Penske was irrelevant today. Well, Ford as a whole. Well, you had Gragson up there, I guess. But anyways, 17th, Chris Buescher. 18th, Daniel Suarez. 19th, Chase Briscoe. 20th, John Hunter Nemechek. 21st, Corey LaJoie. 22nd, Carson Hocevar. 23rd, Justin Haley. 24th, Zane Smith. We'll talk about the incident he was in later. 25th, Corey Heim. What a story. Making his Cup Series debut in the iconic number 43. Not just that, the iconic STP 43. Beautiful paint scheme this week. Obviously not the circumstances that Corey Heim would want to have his first career Cup Series start in, but ultimately it is. With Eric Jones out due to a back injury. Corey Heim finishes 25th, a very respectable result in just his first ever Cup Series start at a very difficult track that is Dover. He's been proving himself the past couple of years, winning all these truck races, running well in Xfinity on his part-time schedule, and now he shows up to Cup, a 25th place finish. No, it's not flashy, it's not crazy, it's not like a top 10 on debut, but it's a solid result for a guy who's having his first laps in a Cup Series car. 26th, Harrison Burton. 27th, Austin Dillon. 28th, Jimmy Johnson, a track that he's done so well at. 28th. He didn't have any incidents this weekend. I can't believe I'm saying this, but good job, Jimmy Johnson. He didn't wreck it this weekend. He has wrecked or spun in every next-gen race he's been in. That might not be statistically accurate, but it feels statistically accurate. 29th, Kaz Grau. 30th, Brad Keselowski. A horrendous day. Spun at the end of stage 1 and then had a tire go down or something in the middle of a green flag run. Had to pit under green. Ends up 17 laps down in 30th. 31st, Todd Gilliland was our first caution of the day. Spun out, and because of the banking on the front stretch, just could not get it going. They needed to tow him away, but it took them a long time to tow him away. The team was on the radio. They were quite salty that Todd Gilliland could not get away, saying, have they ever done this before? He ends up 21 laps down. And now we get to the wreck. The big one, which was like 5 cars. Zane Smith just washed up the track a little bit, clipped Bubba Wallace, who spun down the track, and everyone's evading the wreck, and Christopher Bell gets clipped. William Byron T-bones Bubba or Bell, I can't remember which one, but it took all those cars out except for Zane Smith. And ultimately, those guys finished 32nd, 33rd, 34th. William Byron, though, he had top 3 speed in this race early on. He led some laps. He was running second to Truex in that first stage. But they had a bad green flag pit stop. The jack dropped, and they fell all the way back to 17th or 18th. And that was it. You get pinned back there in traffic. He had a tough time in traffic getting through the field. He just kind of sat in that 15th to 18th place range. And then finally that wreck happened, and it ended his day. I think that's his first DNF of the season as well. 34th, Christopher Bell. I think I already said that. 35th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was running top 10 this entire day. He was running literally, he scored stage points in both stages, I think. And when he wasn't running 10th, he was running either 11th or 12th. And then he just wrecked himself. Coming out of the green flag pit cycle, coming down to the back stretch, he just comes up the track, clips the 4 car, and spins out and hits the inside wall. So it was a great day going for Stenhouse, but an extremely disappointing ending. 36, Michael McDowell. Not really sure what happened to him. I think it was a mechanical problem. They didn't really say on TV. It was just I look up and Michael McDowell's like 100 laps down. Not sure. 37th, Ryan Preece. The race was over before it even started. His car was smoking like very early on in this race. And it was at that point that they realized something was wrong. And then finally it got to the point that Ryan Preece couldn't drive it because there was so much smoke in the cockpit. And Ryan Preece had to pull it into the garage, and they just called it a day. But Denny Hamlin picks up his 3rd win of the season, holding off Kyle Larson. Yes, the topic of the year, or topic of the week, at least, aero blocking. Such fun times. But I'm sure more people will have discussions about the car. More people will be crying about the car and whatnot. I personally enjoyed the race. No, it wasn't a thrilling side-by-side finish like the Xfinity race at Texas. No, it wasn't like Kansas last year with Larson and Hamlin. But I still enjoyed the race. We were able to see passing throughout the field. We saw guys, I mean, look at some of these guys and their finishing result. Larson started like 20th. Elliott started like 29th. So Truex started like 15th. Yes, those are the best cars, and we expect them to make their way to the front, but people talking about not passing, it was possible. And those guys didn't really need some crazy strategy to get up there. They were able to pass their way through the field. So ultimately, that's just my opinion on the day. I enjoyed it. No, it wasn't the best race ever, but I still enjoyed it. 7.5 out of 10 if you ask me. I know some people will have different opinions, but I personally enjoyed this race. I did. Maybe I was in a good mood. I don't know, but thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you guys in the next video tomorrow. We will have our normal post-race, post-Monday, the Monday after live stream. So looking forward to seeing you guys then.